I call on the Vice-Chancellor, Professor Alan Gilbert, to introduce Professor Lindsay Falvey, who has kindly agreed to address us.
Chancellor, Professor Lindsay Falvey came to the University of Melbourne in 1994 to be the Dean of its Faculty of Agriculture, Forestry and Horticulture. He came from a distinguished national and international career in agricultural science, consulting and corporate management. Professor Falvey is a graduate of La Trobe University and subsequently received a PhD from the University of Queensland. He's the author of more than 50 scientific articles and the author and co-author of 5 books. In a distinguished professional career, he has led more than 35 missions to Asia and elsewhere, and prior to coming to the university as Dean, as a Managing Director, he was responsible for staff in more than 60 countries. I call on Professor Falvey to deliver the occasional address.
Mr. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, my academic colleagues, graduates, families and friends. It is with great pleasure and shared pride that I stand before you today to deliver this occasional address. Graduation itself is a grand occasion not only for graduates themselves but for the university. You, our graduates of today, are participating in a tradition which dates back several centuries. The symbolism shares its origins with the ancient and great traditions of learning, power and social customs. This makes you all heirs to an ancient order, one which bestows privilege and requires responsibility. You entered this great university as students, undergraduate and postgraduate, and will shortly emerge as graduates. This ceremony effectively marks the beginning of a new aspect of your lives, as you join the ranks of an elite group of persons around the world who are proud to acknowledge this university as their alma mater. It is with due pride that I extend my own personal congratulations and those of my colleagues here present to each of you and to your families and friends. You have every reason to be proud of your achievements and of this day. I wish to talk briefly about agriculture and forestry and its links to the environment and knowledge. Graduates of agriculture and forestry today graduate from the largest and most forward-looking faculty in Australia and the region. The fact that a new faculty came into existence almost a year ago probably has had only marginal effect on your studies. Yet it is a significant historical fact, and you have been part of that. The University of Melbourne was perhaps the only institution which could take such a far-reaching decision to cater for the natural environment sectors in the form of agriculture, forestry and horticulture. This has led to the merging of 6 colleges of agriculture, food, forestry and horticulture around Victoria into one very strong faculty at this university. This has produced a faculty which is the largest by far in Australia. 9 campuses, thousands of hectares of farms and forests, and more than 470 staff spread around the state. It's a faculty which incorporates both vocational and higher education, with acknowledged strengths in both areas. It's a faculty which links extension and outreach activities as great universities in these applied fields must do. It's a faculty which takes a long-term vision of the role of agriculture and forestry, among other areas, as major parts of natural resource management. Last week I participated in the graduation of your fellow graduates at Dookie College, and I was impressed by the calibre of the graduates and, with all parts of the faculty, the high levels of employment at the time of that graduation ceremony. In that case, already more than 90% of graduates employed. This high demand for motivated graduates with strong environmental skills is one of the university's secrets which we should proclaim more widely. Two unifying themes of agriculture and forestry are industry contact and the environment. An industry focus is important for applied science fields such as ours. Even when the rhetoric of recent funders of education is discounted to its true value, industry connections are critical to the applied sciences. It may not be as critical to all faculties in this university, but it is to the applied fields, just as the health industry and hospital contact is important to medicine and construction is to engineering and building. In such a period of applied focus, it is important for graduates and universities alike to avoid being trapped by the detail of science and industry. The overarching context of the applied sciences of agriculture and forestry remains, as it always has been, the natural environment. To those of you graduating from other faculties, these areas of the environment and natural resources are in fact areas which will also touch the lives of each of you as you proceed through your chosen careers. This may be in science or law, where new environmental values are critical to maintaining society's integrity, or it may be in other fields. Let me take this a step further now and put this more clearly in today's terms of the environment, a subject which we see daily in newspapers, which affects us all. The biological and social science interactions which form the basis of agriculture and forestry degrees are in fact the basis of an informed perspective on the natural environment. The responsibility for sound land management is one which rests squarely on graduates in these fields. The vast majority of land and, as a consequence, water management is entrusted to persons whom you will serve or be closely associated with. The complexities of science, social and economic interactions are the complexities of the natural environment, a dynamic system which no one fully understands. What we all need to understand is the limits to our knowledge. One sign of the educated person is knowing what one does not know. Balancing the knowledge of biological systems, human behaviour, and means of accessing knowledge are the hallmarks of a rounded graduate. And with such talent comes the responsibility to act in a manner which benefits society in applying that knowledge. Our collective responsibility as persons who have had the special opportunity of higher education is to make that knowledge available to such important human issues as the environment. We can do this as teachers, researchers, scientists, lawyers, advisors, in whatever profession we choose. However, in accepting the privileges of education, we're also committing ourselves to the responsibility of continuous learning. For after all, what you have gained here is an excellent foundation for gaining further understanding. No one of your lecturers or supervisors will say that you have learned everything about any field and its interactions with other fields. The true sign of the professional today is, as it will be tomorrow, a person who engages in continuous learning. Now, I realise the last thing many of you want to hear is a suggestion of lifelong learning and more studying. I've been told that people wish to get on with life and earning rather than life and learning. However, continuous learning is not instead of having a life. Continuous learning is in fact part of life for graduates. It means using the facility you have gained here to learn and to continue to learn. There are two reasons for this. The first one is personal, the second, social. The personal one is that continuous learning is part of ensuring employability. We no longer can think in terms of employment lasting one's whole lifetime with one employer. We must think of remaining employable in a changing circumstance. The social reason is that of responsibility. You represent the top percentiles of your generations in terms of educational achievement. And this will offer opportunities beyond most others. With this comes the responsibility to use that for society's benefit. It may sound old-fashioned, but it is the only way that we can see society's major commitment to education being repaid. This debt is far more significant than HECS. And yet I do not want to equate knowledge with virtue and therefore wrongdoing with ignorance in the way that Socrates did. Rather, what I want to emphasise is the need for a greater level of knowledge about the environment and other major matters in the general public. Graduates, in these terms, the future is being placed in your hands. It's an exciting prospect, and in times which are changing faster than we have ever known change before, it is important to keep abreast with new knowledge. For with knowledge and a responsible attitude, true special leaders valued way past their lifetimes have arisen. The knowledge base which you have now can lead you to consider new approaches to advancing our own and other civilizations. New ideas, new knowledge, new technology, even novelties will flow through your minds and hands. It's a wonderful position to be placed in. It's not necessarily maintenance of the status quo, of joining the establishment. The scientist Roger Bacon found this out when he made statements on the basis of his knowledge and spent the last 15 years of his life in jail for the crime of uttering novelties. May you utter such novelties. Such action on the basis of conscience and knowledge is not always a bed of roses. Let me emphasise this point with 4 lines from a Harvard professor. This person drew attention to an everyday truth of the early 1800s in his native America. He deduced that people were essentially equal and that slavery was wrong. While self-evident today, this was at a time when slavery was the largest international trade in the world. It was a time when the average person in his society believed slavery was a normal practice. There may well be such mind shifts needed in our society in terms of our attitudes to the natural environment. The words which he penned at that time are applicable to us today just as they were then. They are applicable as we approach new duties, new occasions, and seek to stay abreast of knowledge and truth. Let me read these 4 lines. New occasions teach new duties. Time makes ancient good uncouth. They must upward still and onward, who would keep abreast of truth. Graduates, in the presence of your families and friends, I challenge you to retain a balance between the privileges of your education and the responsibilities of knowledge. Let me close by reminding all of you of the meaning of being a graduate from the University of Melbourne. It means that wherever you may be around the globe, and this university is justifiably proud of its vast international network of alumni, you will realise that the university is an institution which transcends these mere geographical boundaries which have so dominated your lives for the past years. The geographical location may always be here as a place which may in fact be the focus of continuing education for many of you. However, the most effective presence of the university is the wider group of scholars existing here and around the world. The university's presence in the world is that group. Welcome to that group.
Ladies and gentlemen, on your behalf, I would like to thank Professor Lindsay Falvey for that very thoughtful and challenging address. This concludes the proceedings of the degree conferring ceremony, but on behalf of the Alumni Association, I have much pleasure in inviting you to join us for refreshments in the Union House.